everybody. Um, this is going to be a big night, and we want to get rolling pretty quick here. Um, I just wanted to say that this month for Evergreen Camera Club, we're doing our contest, and it's going to be on macro. And before the contest, we're going to do just a little tips and technique, and it's going to be on macro. And I'll be talking a little bit about it, and so will Bill Vogel. So we're going to give what little I know, but it should be a really good contest.
As a matter of
Um,
fact, I would point out the last time we had a macro meeting, Jeff Johnson
Was
hosted
workshop.
a workshop where we
Yeah,
all shot his little scenes and whatnot. It was great.
it
I
was
remember that
excellent.
fondly, and I went back and looked at all those pictures, Jeff.
that was fun. That was a fun day. Let me know when
Okay.
you're ready to do it again. That's always fun.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, and then Tom, will you say a word about the surveys and how important those
Yeah,
are?
so everybody, you should have gotten an email pointing out that or asking you to fill out a survey for the camera club. We'll resend that email within a few days. And just to remind you, we really want to serve our membership better than we have. And the survey is trying to drill down and get to some of the information we need to do that. And so far, out of the nearly 50 members that we have, 12 people responded, and sorry to say, most of those were the management group that always responds to everything. So the rest of you need to step up to the plate and let us know what you'd like to see us do. And so that's what I have to say. We'll send out a new invite within the next few days. Please click on the link and answer some of the questions.
Great. Thank you. Um, okay. So, Ellen,
Yeah,
you want to tell the people about Mount Evans and the calendar contest?
sure. So the 2027 calendar, it is, well, we're working on putting it together now or obviously getting all the pieces. Step number one is the calendar contest, and it is open right now. And I'm assuming, Tom, there's a link on the ECC website
On
for
the
entering.
homepage, just scroll to the bottom of the homepage and there's a big fat button to click on entering your photos. Please, please enter.
So know that the calendar dimensions are 9 inches by 12 inches. It's a landscape. You wouldn't believe the number of people who enter phones like from their phone or something that's a vertical image. It's crazy. So just have in the back of your head that if you haven't cropped your image to 9 by 12, then it will be cropped for you. So please do it so that we have a really nice image. Evergreen Camera Club will be judging at our next meeting, which is June 10th. And so the deadline for entering is June 5th. So at midnight, I'm assuming. So please enter your photos by then. You may enter up to three photos, and the photos are then put into categories of the four seasons: summer, spring, winter, and fall. I did that in the wrong order, but you know what I mean. And also the photos need to be 3 years old or less. So nothing from your childhood, sorry. Um, the photos you can use post-processing, you can fix things, but don't make it look like a piece of art. I mean, it needs to look natural. No hand of man in the photos, so no statues, no people, things like that. And you could go online and read all the rules. So I'm not gonna tell them all to you, but that's just some of the highlights. So enter three images. One of the three of the four seasons or all three for winter or whatever you want to do. And also the photos must be from the area that Mount Evans Hospice services, which is the kind of like the mountain side of Jefferson County, Park, Gilpin, and Clear Creek counties. So that's roughly it. There's a map that'll show you where the photos need to be sourced from. And so no photos from Rocky Mountain Arsenal or Rocky Mountain National Park or anything like that. They're all from the Mount Evans area. Anything you want to add, Tom?
Those rules that Ellen just outlined are in the when you go to the contest entry, there's a little link that'll take you to some tips for what we're looking for, as well as all those rules. They're all on there. Please read them. And then when Ellen and I collect all the images to put in our contest, we won't have to throw some out, which we invariably have to do. And it's very sad. We want to accept everybody's work, and it's best if you try to submit things that conform to the rules.
Good advice.
And then please attend on June 10th. It's anonymous voting. It will all be done on Zoom, and you will get to see all of the entries and vote. We'll be voting per season, and you'll get to vote for your own photos. Give yourself a 5 so that but we need as many people as possible to vote on June 10th for our meeting so that we can have just a great variety of opinions and have those photos. Then that will be the top 25 that will go on to be the finalists for either the honorable mention or the calendar page for each month.
Okay,
So
great.
it's all very exciting. And
Yeah.
last year, I think Mount Evans makes about 2,000 calendars or so that they sell. So it's a great fundraiser for Mount Evans Hospice. So it's, by the way, it's
Absolutely.
Mount Evans Home Health Care and Hospice. But I've lived in Evergreen so long, I still say the short version of.
All right. Well, thank you.
You bet.
Well, now let's get down to the meat of the meeting. And Ellen, do you want to go ahead and introduce Rick and Jeff, and we'll get going?
Yeah. So the guys at the Image Critique
Before we
Show.
start, let me just ask everybody to stop their video and mute their microphone. Go ahead, Ellen. Sorry about that.
You do that to me every time.
Well,
But it's good.
I mean, you could have waited till I was done and then said it, right? Okay, the guys at the Image Critique Show have developed a new and unique opportunity for photographers of all levels to test run their imagery in a competition atmosphere with 2 masters of photography and longtime seasoned image competition jurors. This program is similar to their monthly broadcasts, yet offered to your group privately. That's us. So Jeff and Rick are both 45+ year veterans, each having grown up in successful family-run photography studios. You need to listen to these guys. Well, not only are they just a lot of fun to talk to, but the parallels of Jeff's childhood growing up in a photo studio and Rick's is just amazing. All the parallels you guys had without knowing each other until what? Were you in
Well,
your
40. That's been 40 years now.
40 years? Okay.
40 that
So
we've known each other.
they are both PPA masters, craftsmen, and multi-year PPA approved affiliate jurors. Photographic instruction is their passion, as they've shared years of knowledge with hundreds of eager photographers across the USA, Canada, and Mexico. As seasoned veterans, they offer this opportunity for you to learn how to be more understanding of the judging process. Oh, isn't that the truth? Realize more success with your image entries and learn how to master image competition. How's that? Jeff and Rick
That's
have at
cool.
it. And oh, and by
Hi.
the way, if you guys don't mention it, all of you listening here, you have got to log into the Image Critique Show because it is so much fun, and these guys are so great. Plus, Kevin Holiday, and and then a guest juror every month. It's just I learned so much. It's just wonderful. So I highly recommend it. You don't have to enter. Just sit back and watch and enjoy because you'll just learn a ton. There you go. Now I'm going.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow,
You
Ellen,
bet.
thank you so much for the kind words and the invitation from your group. I I always feel that whenever we have these programs or these shows, uh, I just feel I learn much more than I impart because generally, the images that we have the privilege of evaluating and critiquing um, just trigger some creative juices in me, and to the point where, wow, I didn't think of something in this direction. I didn't think of that perspective. So it's a learning process, I think, for all of us. And I just appreciate the opportunity to be with all of you here tonight.
Yeah, we've been doing this show. This is our fourth season. And all the years that we've been judging, and I know Rick, you'll agree with this, we've chatted about how many times we'll see an image and it just stirs up our own desires to go create something similar or to go expand and try some new technique. So if nothing else, as Ellen said, definitely check us out. I just put the link, go to your chat box. The link for the show, the website is in there. The show is free to watch. It is the fourth Thursday, that's a mouthful, of every month. So we're coming up on what would be the 28th, 26th, 6 p.m. It starts. You can log on a few minutes early. We just chat and share a few jokes. You can enter images. There is a page on the website. There's a fee to enter an image. And we record the show, and all the shows are recordings are put up on the site as I'm recording this show as well. So we'll make this available. Tom said he'd make this all available to you guys as well, what we're doing tonight. But see, the show is a blast because it's Rick and I, and this year we've got a third host, our dear friend Kevin Holiday. And then we always have a guest who's a seasoned, I hate to use the word judge, it sounds so formal, seasoned expert. But that sounds nicer. Oh, but it's just a bunch of friends talking about photography, and it's fun because we all try and take turns. Show goes on for a couple hours easy, and just watching, even if it's not your own images, you're going to learn something. So definitely check that out. But also enter some images just to give yourself that kind of a like we're doing tonight. So this show tonight is pretty much what we do in the show. I'll pull up an image. Rick and I both have access to markers in the Zoom, Brett. So we'll don't be afraid, don't be shy. We're gonna maybe recrop, draw some circles on it, point some things out. Just ideas that we have, just ideas we're gonna share. Doesn't mean it's the gospel, doesn't mean it's right. Um, I just thought of something what Ellen said there about our time in the service here. Rick, you've done this is what your 52nd year?
It'll be, well, yeah, 52 next month, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, and I'll hit 49 next week. So my
Yeah.
back hurts even more now if I say that.
Yeah.
So anyways, also though, so we welcome your feedback during the show. Obviously, we're gonna move through it. Um, I don't know who's gonna Tina, would you mind just monitoring? So go ahead and open your chat box. If you have a question, please type it in there. Tina's going to review them, and if she thinks it's pertinent at the time, or when we're done with all the images, we will go back and chat about. So ask your questions. Don't sit back and pretend. If you don't want your name said, we won't do that. We'll just read questions. It's not about embarrassing anybody. But by all means, this is part of the learning process is to ask the questions and get involved. So that's enough, right? Can we move on now? The
Yeah.
guys, you gave us the
And
30 images. Thank you. Um, Pay attention. We only figured 30 hours. 30 hours. It's going to take a couple hours to do 30 images. We'll chat fast, but we want to be thorough. We want to give you all the information we can. But again, don't hesitate to ask and like that. Rick, anything else you want to add before I start?
just please, please, just keep an open mind about the things that we say. It's just that's our opinion, and as everyone knows, everyone's entitled to their own ridiculous opinion, and we certainly have
Yeah.
ours. So,
Yeah.
uh, and based on the experience that we've had over the years, you might want to play with an image, and we'll talk about that when we get into the critiquing, because there's a couple pretty neat uh, points that are universal that need to be made, I think, with almost every image. And we'll talk about that tonight. So I'm ready if you are, Jeff.
All right, man. Well, I'm going to share the screen over here. I'll get that going here. And I want to take that screen, share it. And you should be able to see my Photoshop screen. Let me move a couple of things here. You can see my cursor moving okay there. So I'm going to pull up an image it's a Photoshop. We're going to start with an image called A Graceful Hunter. Rick, I'll give you the honors. Let you go ahead and
Yeah,
start.
this
And you
is.
guys can you guys can see that okay, right?
Yeah. Are you able to see my cursor? It should be a yellow uh, marker.
Yes. Yes, I see it. So everybody
Okay,
should.
good. Good, good. There are a couple things about this image that strike me in a very positive way. Number one is the sharpness of the image as I'm seeing it. Can you project it just a little bit, Jeff?
Oh yeah, hang on. I just went left. Sorry, I got my tools in the wrong place. Okay. So you want me to go a little larger with it? That good? Did that help?
There you go. Yeah, very good. Yeah, and what I enjoy about this image, number one, is the sharpness of the image and the crisp light that's hitting the bird, and then that reflection. Now, a lot of times, we have a concern about an image being split right in the middle. Um, Horizontally in this case because of the horizon line. In this case, I feel that that's a really good balance of this image from the main image of the bird to the reflection in the bottom. Also, the strong contrast, the strong contrast of the white bird against the black background makes it a really captivating uh, pre- uh, presentation. If I had any to back up just a little bit, I don't know how much more we have on the bottom, but just to give a little bit more space around the bird and its reflection. But really a nice capture.
Yeah, I think the direction of light is what's helping this. If you were just have lit this flat on, light on camera flat, you wouldn't have had these shadows that create the highlight, the shadow, which gives us the roundness in the bird in this case. That's what keeps it from, like Rick said, kind of blending into the background. Beautiful textures, uh, tough exposure with the white bird, white feathers. How many times we lose the highlights? But just the action. The other thing too that I think is cool that sometimes we'll see, it's hard because in competition, a lot of times we don't want to see the bird just standing there. Could be a beautiful bird, could be a rare bird, but if it's just standing there, it's not as exciting, it's not that compelling. In our elements of design that we talk about in competition, the first one is impact. And the impact is how you feel when it first hits on the screen, the first time you see it. It might be a wow thing, but if it doesn't last, then what's it, fleeting, Rick? Is that what we call it? the fleeting impacts. So it's good, but it doesn't go away. But when you have movement like this, I mean, look at the beautiful line. The bird's weight's forward on this leg, this angle of this leg gives it direction. The wing being out, nice support, the bird kind of leaning forward. It just gives us some movement, some action, so it doesn't become static. And a static image is something that people don't look at very long. Again, like Rick said, he covered the capturing of the uh, this white in the image is just it's a tough one because you'll get, especially where the light hits directly, you'll get blown out highlights, and you've handled this so well. And again, when we're talking about competition, it gets down to points. It gets down to in our competition, PPA and our state, we're on a scale from 65 to 100. And I know you guys do, what is it, 6 to 10? There's a big difference in what 1 or 2 points can do for overall standings and prizes and trophies and things. So we might get, and of course the term is nitpicky, which I don't like, but it's going to sound like it. Obviously, there's bubble reflections. I might have taken this little bit out, maybe even up to behind the bird, because it's kind of interfering with the bird itself. These reflections down here are fantastic. These spots out here, they're probably just bubbles and reflections, but I would have taken, they look more like dust spots. So maybe all of these right here, I would have taken them out. And it's little things that just like this. It's again, I hate to use the word nitpicky, so I'm not trying to be that way, but it's all these little things that add up to a much more powerful image, regardless of if you're submitting it to a competition, just doing it for yourself. But I definitely think you captured a really cool piece here, so good job. Moving right along, we have one called A Winter's Day. This is a scene that I love. I've actually gone here myself to try and photograph this. Um, what is this? A guest center or welcome center? Um, Man, with snow, look at that. It's just beautiful. Great
Okay,
capture.
I'm not seeing anything. I'm not seeing an image, Jeff.
Really? Let me look here real quick and see what's going on. Anybody else seeing an image?
We're
There
seeing
you
it,
go.
Jeff.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can
I
see
got
it.
it. I got it now. Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. So yeah, this being such a beautiful building and the fresh snow, the leading line coming in of the sidewalk from the parking lot here is so cool. Oops, let me grab my pen here. This is a phenomenal leading line to bring us into the scene. The bit of water separates this piece of land in the foreground. I like that you got it and didn't just have a gray sky. Sometimes that's so easy to get, but just enough of the clouds to give us some foreground, middle ground, and background. And that's what creates the depth. Remember, a photograph is a two-dimensional media, height and width. Our job as the artist is to create that third dimension. And you've done that very nicely here by giving us, again, the walkway where the building is, and then the slope, the hill, the trees, and the sky. So it makes us want to go into the image and come back. We still come back to the image. Exposure's right on. Even this little tree over here on the left is a nice little base. I would go into little things like maybe this, I don't know what this is, but this looks like a stake or something. I would take that out. A little corner white piece, I'd take that out. And just little things like that, that it's okay to do. I mean, you don't have to go crazy and you don't have to replace it with something else, but just what they do is they catch the viewer's eye. And as you caught this image, as you photographed it, this is your focal point. That's where you want everybody to look. Everything else is a leading line to say, hey, look here. All these trees are saying, hey, this is cool. I'm in the background, but look here. These little things in the foreground tend to pull your eye away from where you want the viewer to go unnecessarily. Again, it's not a major crime. You might only get 1 to 2 years for it, but um, by all means, um, it's something that just to consider to kind of, and I say clean up the image a little bit. Even things like these little spots, this is just tufts of grass through the snow, this little guy here. Again, I don't mean to sound really picky, but I would get rid of those little spots like this. It just clean up some of those areas, and it just makes it that much more pure for an image. And it's okay to do these things. Rick, what do you think?
Yeah, I think everything that you're saying, I agree with is totally valid. I'm looking at considering a different crop. You know, this beautiful home, and the situation or the composition of the house is almost dead center. We consider that like a bullseye composition. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just it might be more interesting if we were to pull in from the left and down from the top, just above the trees, to pull that structure a little further visually to the
More,
left.
more than that, or about there?
I'm not seeing there you go.
Here's
You
what it
know,
was.
I keep clicking on trying to get my cursor, but it pops up and then goes away on the zoom.
The
There it is.
paintbrush, the brush.
Yeah, the brush. Yeah.
It's fun. Yeah, there you go. I can see the yellow now. So go ahead.
Yeah, see, can you see my cursor? Just the arrow?
I saw the yellow you did
It's
on the
on.
left, but I don't see anything else. I don't see a cursor, no.
Okay, so now, yeah, see, I hit that brush or the pen on the bottom left. Click on that, go up, and it disappears. I don't get the palette.
So sometimes it appears up horizontally. Is it doing that to you under up? Look all over
Yeah.
your screen because sometimes it appears in different places.
No, there's the bottom left corner is the pen,
Right.
and it pops up and pops out. Yeah. But anyway, I'm thinking about coming in, like between those two trees from the left.
All right, I did a crop here. Let's see if I can. So like maybe in like right in here on the left.
Yeah, just
And
a
then
little
down from the
further
top,
in,
you said.
and then down from the top.
So like that.
I don't know. Yeah. Um,
Here's
I'm thinking of
before.
be. I'm thinking, yeah, yeah, just a little further in from the left and a little more from the top, just to push that building over just a little bit more, and then to address the concerns that you were talking about, the bottom left corner, bottom right corner.
Yeah. Did you,
Yeah,
so
I
Rick,
don't know
did you see
why.
the crop that I've
It's
done here?
There you go. Yeah,
So we just pushed that building off to the left just a little bit. Yeah,
right.
there's quite a controversy might be the right word for it in the fine art world. A lot of images are done where they put the subject right smack in the middle. And the PPA world that we've grown up in is that's kind of it's not really a no-no, but it can be we're taught to believe it can get very static. So going with the original crop that Rick was talking about, the house is kind of in the middle. And then the little crop job that I did here, you can see it just kind of pushed the building off the left. Again, personal preference, but it does give it a little bit more motion. You come in and the building's over here, and then you don't have to show a ton of sky to get the idea that it is a cloudy day. So you can see as I crop down the top, it still says snowy, cloudy day, but it's bringing the emphasis back to the building. So,
Yeah.
okay.
And this is one of those points that I talked about before we got started. When we make suggestions like cropping, or a black and white conversion, what have you, just hold on to the original and then play with the image, with maybe the recommendations of cropping or whatever it is that we're making, and do a side by side. And, if the original is still the one that rings your bell, well, then that's the one you want. And it never hurts to get someone's feelings impressions, because Jeff and I do that all the time with each other's work. And uh, and I'll send something to him, and he'll catch something that was totally off my radar. Had no idea. So I think there's some value to that
Yeah,
approach as well.
absolutely. Yeah, I'll think I've nailed an image and I'm all excited about it. I'll send it to Rick and he sends me back a punch list with like 20 items on it. Did you try this? Did you try this?
Eh,
And it's just really kind of like, but you know what? It's just that feedback. You don't have to agree with it, but it's great little feedback. So moving along here, this one's called Acorn Woodpeckers. There we go. Go ahead, Rick.
okay.
You're seeing it okay?
Yeah. Let me see if I can get my pen to work.
Because it worked with first image, it worked okay.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Okay. I really like the composition of uh, this image, because what we're seeing is what I call diagonally opposed composition. We're seeing one bird, and let me get this back. We got the one bird up here, and then diagonally opposed is another uh, uh, element to the composition. And to me, that's just a very, very strong composition. Uh, Jeff pointed out, clean up things before we submit. And, we look right down here at the bottom right, just that little nub of, I guess, a branch or whatever that comes in. Now, in terms of lighting, I get the sense that we're, in an overcast kind of a muddy day as far as lighting is concerned. What might help this is a little more contrast and saturation that we need to be careful about, because we don't want to lose detail in the darker areas uh, of the image. But I do like the way it's composed. I I like the fact that we have this diagonal composition. If we kept it in color like this, I think we might want to do a little bit of, we used to call it color burning in film in the darkroom. But I'm noticing that the little bit of blueness right up here against all of the other colors is just a little bit of a draw or a distraction. So if we could just take the color value of that with the rest of maybe this branch, it wouldn't be something uh, that grabs our attention as much. Go ahead, Chair.
Yeah, I'm just let me try something here. I'm just wondering if, as you mentioned that this V up at the top up here catches my eye. I'm just wondering if maybe even just a simple cropping it like this would take that attention off of it. Brings this bird up into a third here and
Mm-hmm.
still tells the story. But I think, yeah, everything about Rick was saying is right on. The good composition, good storytelling. I like that they're both looking in the same direction. Little extra little things I would go in and do is kind of I say the word clean up, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but let me get my pen back here. I would take this branch out. So it's not, anytime you cross a background element with a foreground element, it pulls them together. So I would just eliminate, even just from right here down that branch, just get that from being behind this bird. Everything else is fine. I might, this little reflection or whatever, this little, I'd maybe get rid of that. But gosh, I mean, this is really a very cool image, very strong. You're getting the blue reflection from the sky. You could take that blue out a little bit if that blue is not there. I don't mind a little bit. But I think whatever else Rick said is right on. So I agree with all those things for sure. All right. Then moving along, we have, come on. It only does this when I'm trying to do things. It only does this when we're on a show.
Yeah.
I can't get it to do what I need to. Okay. This is called Bear Stare. I noticed Maker, I'll just tell you, this is not the end of the world, but this is a very small file. If Maker, if you're on, we need to have and the reason I'm pointing that out is because when I enlarge it like this, for us to see it, it's losing sharpness and picking up noise. So we're going to ignore that. But the file you sent was pretty small. Um, just keep that in mind. But what a great story you've captured here. Look at the eye, the bear stare. Yep, it's like all of a sudden you're out in the wilderness and you realize, oh my God, there's a bear staring at me. It's exactly what it says. It's exactly what the story is in the title. So nice job. Um, just I love that you cropped it in close. There's no necessary need to have every single little piece of the bear in here. The story was right here in the face. I like that it's even, a lot of times I'll get my little pen going here too. A lot of times we'll talk about bringing here's our center line here. Our subject matter is kind of past center looking back at it. That's real powerful in this case. So it gives us more of that feeling of um, caught you out of the corner of my eye, kind of a feeling that so it's more of a story. Um, I would maybe go in and do things like you probably had snow going on, but watch for a little junk. And I know it's snow, but it appears as white dots. It looks like there's a few of them here. I would clean those up, especially for a PPA competition if you're going that far. It's a little hard because I know these are all probably snow droplets on the bear's fur, and it's a little bit out of focus. There's enough of them that I think a judge can get. I mean, like all these little spots here, I wouldn't worry about it, but like this big what it's not really helping the story. So you have to look at these things and realize, is it helping or hindering? Um, there's a lot of little white spots going on all over, and that's enough of them that it says snow. So you have to, just play your best judgment. I'd probably leave that one alone. This one was pretty strong. But when you get streaks against a blue, I can just see a judge saying, yeah, you've got some spots on your sensor. And the problem is, it's not whether they're right or they're wrong. It's if an element pulls up like that and a judge sees it and brings it to the attention of other judges, there goes some points in any competition. So a lot of times it's either do it more, add more snow, or get rid of a little bit of it. Because if it's a question, you were there, but you have to pull in a family member and say, what does this look like to you? And they'll say, what's that white spot? That tells you get rid of it. Oh, it was snowing. That tells you to leave it alone. Does that make sense? Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah. Um, I appreciate um, uh, the light value in this. We've got that warm yellowish gold light that just really cuts across the fur and really creates a lot of detail. I'd really like to see this in a high res file to just see all that detail and coarseness of the hide and fur of the bear. But yeah, my first thought compositionally was maybe we should allow excuse me, allow just a little space above above the uh, above the ear here and on this side. And I get to thinking about it, and we call those tangent points. And in this case, that creates a little bit of drama, a little bit of um, um, apprehension, if you will. So, these are the things that we look at an image and we consider, well, should I or shouldn't I? But that's what makes this art that we do, this photography, so wonderful. Because are there any really true yeses and nos? Like we talked about a minute ago, the bullseye composition. To some, it's totally um, acceptable, and it is in certain cases, in my opinion. Or should we push the subject off center? So I'm hoping that I'm making some points here, not only technically, but also philosophically, I guess, about our approach to the photography that we render.
Yeah, I think a lot. It's a really excellent point there, especially on the cropping, Rick. What we're trying to help you do is bring more power to the scene. Not any specific thing we've talked about, or I can talk about the building being in the middle of the scene. Right or wrong, we don't use those words because there isn't a right or wrong. It's all personal preference. But does doing one composition make it a stronger story than another? That's what we're going for. So trust what I'm saying. Try some different things. Just because when I look through the viewfinder, we're all photographing with the same cropping. And I don't like that because I want my work to stand differently. I'm constantly looking at, okay, I've got to capture the scene with this camera, with this format, because that's all I have to do. That's all I've got to work with. But what is the actual image in there? Don't be afraid to change the crop. It doesn't have to stay. I know there's arguments here, and different people say different things. There's no reason it has to stay in a 5 by 4 format or 16 by 9. You can do whatever you want as long as the composition, the story, the movement, the flow, the balance works. Enough said there. Okay, our next image. Before Guanella Pass. Rick, I'll throw this one at you, and then I have a couple of questions after that.
Right. I'm not seeing an image yet.
Interesting.
There we go. Yes. I think this goes right back exactly to what Jeffy was saying about using your viewfinder and what to include and what not to include. Uh, I think that this image could benefit by a cropping, a nice panel type of a crop from the bottom to begin with, uh, and then from the top as well. But I'd say cropping even above that white stone area on the bottom, um, and then coming down
Something
just
like
to create
that.
a nice panel. Yeah, can you come up from the bottom a little bit more? There you go. And then just a little from the top.
That's
Yeah,
not the right. Well, like that.
there you go. To me, there's just I'm led into the image more so than the more rectangular version of it. Um, Again, this kind of image, man, you'll sell them by the boatload. They'll be on calendars, note cards, what have you. I would say this, that as beautiful as this scene is, I just feel it, it really isn't quite the optimum time of day
Yeah,
to
that's what
get
I'm
the
thinking too.
capture. So keeping something in mind when we can have a time of day where the light is, lower angle, lower level angularly, if that's a term. I think we
It
give
is
more
now.
dimension. Yeah, yeah. I think we'd have more depth and dimension in the image. That in itself has helped a lot.
Yeah, that's the hard thing is that we go out and shoot when we can. And shooting a
Yeah,
grand
and
landscape
I
like this,
that
it's hard to, as pretty as the snow, the clouds, the whole scene is. I don't want to say the wrong lighting, but the middle of the day lighting is not flattering to shapes and contours and story. go back to this scene and do it at sunrise or sunset. And I say that to some people, and they go, I'm not getting up that early. But I can tell you it's
Yeah.
worth it. And Rick will go out. He wants to know, he wants to put the family right here in the scene. Um, mom and dad right here. And, and so he borrows my landscapes for backgrounds for his portraits. But anyways, but just keep that stuff in mind that it's definitely um, lighting is so huge in landscape. The landscape itself can be very pretty, but that in itself doesn't make an award-winning photograph. So you have to approach that with not flat lighting. This lighting is overhead, so it's coming straight down. Basically, it's flat lighting. You've got to have some direction to it. You've got to have it coming from one way or the other. Uh, I don't know, this is obviously probably facing west, but if you were to come in, or even when the sun is setting and you get the, lower tones, the warmer light, or sunrise just before the sun breaks the horizon behind us, man, the color of the sky, you get that earth shadow in here, and then you get that pink violet tone or salmony color, um, is just so outstanding that it makes the image that much better, or as I like to say, more better.
Right.
Okay. Oh, sorry. One other thing I like to do, we haven't done this. When I get out, if I'm only able to shoot at this time of the day, I will go in and try the old black and white thing because sometimes then you can get by with, I hate to say the wrong lighting, but you can get by with something that's more Ansel Adams-esque and create some drama in your scene, even though you've got technically not the lighting we like to do landscapes in. I'm just using the black and white conversion. And you can see it's already built up some more drama and some more, even though the light is still direct coming down, but I can tone down the yellow greens in the foreground and of course the blues in the sky to make the mountains stand out even more. So by just getting rid of that black and white layer, you tend to see everything in the scene. And the minute by doing this, I've directed your eye now to the mountain range. Everything else is more supportive. Okay. Our next image is called, actually, this is, Maker, I apologize, but this is what the file is called, buff, if that's what you want it to be. So I don't know if there's more of a story here, but it was just called buff. So you can make up your own stories. We got Buffalo Baby, we got Mom and Tyke, we've got all kinds of storytelling. And one other thing that I always throw this into a show, titles are very, very important. They're very powerful. And I don't care if it's for a competition or to hang it in a gallery or to enter it in a show or to put it in your calendar. Titles tell the story. Titles draw them. You can have a beautiful image, but if it's just called horse, it feels like you've left it on the table. Make up a story, like we had, a graceful hunter, winter's day, things like that. Go ahead and tell a story with a title. Don't make it, don't make a whole paragraph out. I've said that I got myself in trouble. Um, but yeah, so when you have something like this, you can, talk about, make it more like Mom and Tyke, or beginning of life, or something that really you're not necessarily having to tell a story with the title, but you're introducing that concept. Let the viewer take the story down the path. All you have to do is put in the suggestion for a story. Rick, don't you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. In addition, again, we're talking about uh, lighting, and light value. Um, you know, I think this is a great image of a relationship between um, the mama and the calf. I just feel that um, impact that we talked about early on is just, it wanes because we see these beautiful animals, but then the impact kind of wanes because, first of all, the lighting doesn't really accentuate the fur the scene itself. Also, I feel that, as best we can in any image, to work ourselves around, to isolate certain parts of the image. Um, you know, got that bison in the background that's really breaking up the really nice silhouette or profile, if you will, of the mama. And then the one on the right, either, as I'm thinking of it, either show it all or just crop it out like Jeff just did a minute ago.
Yeah,
But I
they
think the
introduce
image,
interest points that aren't necessary to the story.
right.
I'm
But
sorry,
I
Rick, go
think,
ahead.
no, I just feel that the image is powerful enough with the mama and calf than the other two, especially the one in the background that breaks up that really nice profile of the top of the head around the horn and down the face of the mama. And, sure, that can be taken out. And if that's a path that you want to consider, then I would certainly.
Let me just go back to that crop I did there. So yeah, because you've got a lot of white sky that's just it's because it's bright white, it's pulling the eye. So let's eliminate it. It doesn't help. It doesn't tell the story. Um, I don't know that I'd crop in. It's getting a little bit tight, so you could, crop it maybe in like this and eliminate this little bit of the bison here. Do something with the sky. This white corner is too bold. So, do a little cloning and add some more mountain back there. But now the story is mom and baby. Yeah, if this guy wasn't here, or I mean, it's your art. You can go as far as you want with it. If you have another view of another bison, maybe that's lying down, but it's more of a profile of the face, drop it in there, make it an art piece. It's okay to do those things these days. It just depends on your own purity level of,
Yeah.
I mean, I would maybe go in and add, another baby in here and make the grass tall and green. Maybe it's going too far, but or you start looking at this image and you go, okay, next time I'm there, I'm going to wait. I'm going to move 10 feet to the right or start seeing. So the idea is this is a great story, but make sure you see the background too and how it's playing into that composition, that story. Right, Ricky?
That's it.
Okay. Cameron. That was my best Spanish accent there. I hope I did that right.
Mm.
This is I love macro or filling up the frame, this kind of thing. So this is very cool to me to just take one subject and fill up the scene with that one subject. It's done well, it's sharp throughout, it's nice detail. It's becomes limiting only in the sense that you get just the one color, so it becomes stagnant very quickly. Oh, excuse me. So your brain then wants to find patterns or direction or flow, and I'm not necessarily finding anything. So you don't necessarily have to have one thing sharp in a scene. You can do a whole thing where the whole scene, the whole image is the focal point. But when you do that, you need to have some support with it. Shadows, colors, highlights, light direction, things like that. So right now it's a cool picture, but it kind of again the impact kind of goes, oh, okay, it's fleeting. It doesn't last. If there was one face in here that I'm just looking for one that stood out more than the rest and made you look at it, my red color isn't going to show up too well. I just happened to pick one. If there was one of these guys that kind of looked like, hey, get me out of here, kind of a story or something like that, that helps drawing the viewer into that one or that not necessarily one item, but one area so that it continues to pull the viewer in. Rick, go ahead.
Yeah, in terms of lighting, we have good highlight and shadow. There's certainly a three-dimensional look to it, but on the top left quadrant, there's a brightness in that quadrant that I think could be toned down. Otherwise, it just draws our attention out of the image. And very, very simple to do, but that would be my recommendation.
And you can
Fry
look at,
those, fry those puppies up.
I was going to say, let's just go ahead and do something with them and have a meal. When I play with a scene because I like shooting this kind of stuff myself, and I will look at different compositions, different croppings or something. Is there a part of it? I'm just looking through it, and I'm not to take up too much time, but is there a certain area that can give me a story? So it doesn't necessarily have to be this many in there, and I'm just playing, but I'll do this. I'll take the crop tool and just start pulling it in and see if there's something that gives me something a little different. I don't know if that worked, but don't be afraid to do something different with, again, the format. You can do a vignette, a linear gradient to take this corner. Oops, that's the wrong tool. To take this corner down over here. Let this be, if you want this to be the focal point, let this be a little lighter. I like the density, the darkness over here. Maybe match it with this corner. This corner is good. This corner is good. Things like that that can just, tip the scales a little bit more, if you will, to take it into from a nice picture to I'll say award-winning image or something that, I mean, because pictures like that, and you go into the right store, the right restaurant, and they'll want to have a 60-inch canvas print of that hanging above their front door. How cool would that be to have something like that? This one is called Echo Lake, A Place for Reflection. Yes, it does have reflection. Rick, what do you think?
Give me a second. It's
Not coming up yet?
No, it's not coming up.
I wonder if it's just in our
Oh,
connection.
it might be. Go ahead and start it. It should come up.
Yes, okay, so this is a phenomenal capture to see this whole, I mean, to see this scene in the first place and then have it reproduced again down here. And I like that you've left a little bit of the shoreline in there. It gives us that balance. Sometimes we've seen, we'll go back to the crop tool instead here. Sometimes we'll see these kind of images where this isn't, again, not a bad thing, but sometimes we'll see it cropped like this and it makes it almost stagnant. I know it's hard because of the first thing you really don't want to do is put the horizon right in the middle of your scene. That cuts it in half and makes two images out of it. Now, reflection, different story. Um, but I think the way you've left this crop here, leaving the rocks and the shoreline in the foreground, just make it really brings us into the scene. It lets us really understand where you're at, what we're seeing, the reflection, good composition, good tonal range throughout. Um, One thing I might suggest is a lot of times a good rule of thumb is that in nature, a reflection is about a stop of density of brightness less than the mountains. This looks even. So you could easily take a gradient and make the bottom half from shoreline, bottom of picture to shoreline. Just make this just a little bit darker. It then puts the emphasis on the lighter. Our eyes go to the lightest part of a scene. So then our eyes would go to the mountain and the clouds first. The other thing that you're kind of fighting, and again, it's a beautiful, I mean, I love standing here at this point and looking at this scene, but when you've got a forest of trees, you've got the mountains, you've got patchy snow, you've got all these heavy clouds, and then you've got the pattern repeated. It's cool, but it's busy. Um, I don't know that a competition this would do so well because there's so much to look at. A calendar, greeting cards, like Rick mentioned before, would be absolutely phenomenal. A big print on the wall. So just keep those things in mind. The minute you introduce all of these textures and patterns and colors and tones and all the words I can come up with, it starts getting very busy. And what we want to do, think of how you felt when you were standing there photographing this scene. It was very comforting. It was very rewarding. It was very calm and serene. But because those feelings, we can't do a scratch and sniff, those other aromas don't go with the image. It becomes busy quickly. And I've heard people in galleries say oh, it's such a beautiful scene, but it makes me nervous. And I've heard people not buy images because of that. Rick, you can see the image now, okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I
What do
think
you think?
everything you're saying is valid. I do like the way that the viewer is led in to the image, but playing around with the cropping and maybe a term that uh, might be worthwhile considering is that less is more sometimes.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
go in and crop, uh, you know, as per your suggestions, and again, do side by sides and see what you feel, uh, resonates with you.
This is one of those images that I'll just show you. There's a lot of images in here. This as it sits, this is pretty cool. This is even cool because again, you don't have to show the whole sky to get the idea. This I really, of course, I love that long. What is this about a 3-to-1 ratio? Um, I love these long horizontal landscapes because it tells the same story. You don't have to have a ton of sky to say it was a very, oh, look at this, a storm front, a clearing storm coming in. And again, it brings back to the full image. If your intent was to show the mountains and the reflection, I mean, you could even crop it in like I showed you, something like this, and then even bring it down here like this. Because of all the busyness, it's still telling the same message, but now the mountains really, maybe I went a little too far up on the bottom, but just kind of play with that, keep those ideas in mind. Okay. So our next image is called Fall Lollipops. Fall Lollipops. Sure, if I click on it, it will open. That's what I'm told. There we go. Did it come up for you, Rick?
And yet,
I wonder if it's just our connection. Is everybody seeing the images quick enough when it comes up? Are there any problems? Nobody's said they're not seeing it, so it must be.
Jeff, they're showing up as soon as you post them. I think Rick's got a slow connection.
Yeah, when we first logged on, he already got back off and logged back on. Sorry, Ricky. I guess it's just your. Rick, you can watch the replay and then
yeah,
comment it. Do you see it
uh,
yet?
yeah, I've got it.
Okay, go ahead. Excuse me.
Okay. Uh, the capture of the color um, palette is exquisite. I think the exposure handled extremely well. A little areas there that might want to consider uh, taking care of. Bottom right corner, where we have a little bit of the white rocks. On the bottom left corner, we can tone those down just a little bit, especially that white one there. Um, and I'm sorry to keep harping on it, but the time of day, uh, do need to ask ourselves, is this really the optimal time of day uh,
Yeah.
for this image? Um, then, talk a little bit too, Jeff, about the sky, the clouds. Uh, what, how do we want to render that? Um, so, there are some beautiful things going on about this image and the color palette that was captured. I'm just concerned, I'm just a person when it comes to lighting. It's a biggie for me. And I mean, like portraits and stuff, it really doesn't matter. That's what sculpts and forms
Right.
and shapes an image, whether it's a landscape, a portrait, a commercial image, anything three-dimensional has to look three-dimensional. And the way it gets to that point is lighting.
Yep, that's exactly. We talk about the third dimension. Our brains can see that when we're standing there, and it's hard to translate it because we'll look at the wow, beautiful colors, beautiful composition, story, and all those things. But then, if it's flatly lit, our brain's going to compensate to make it all those other things look good. But some of the things like we talked about the rock. This image, you could easily do a couple things, Maker, if you're good in um, the overlays and such. I would just do a gradient overlay from this corner. Let me get my little pen back out here. Um, I would do a gradient overlay from this bottom corner up to this line right here and make this deeper. Not a lot darker, but just, and I'll warn you on this one. Anytime you do a gradient, any kind of a general large overlay and you make it darker, you've got to play with the contrast because if you just make it darker, it'll go gray, it'll go flat, the colors will mute, the whites will mute. So you've got to put that gradient over it, make it darker, but then bring back contrast, bring back some of the whites. And you may have to play with those sliders back and forth till you get it so it's darker, but it's still because there's quite a contrast difference between the shadows and these little evergreens and the whites of these weeds. But you can tone all of this down so the whole area is darker, but still retain the contrast level. The sky, you can easily select the sky. I would probably get rid of these clouds. They're not helping this story at all. I would go in there and just eliminate those. The trees are great. I love these tall greens. So eliminate those clouds because all they're doing is pulling my attention over there for no reason. Then I would do a gradient and you can select the sky and then remove the trees. So make it darker on top and a little bit lighter on the just at horizon level. So you've got this gradation coming through. And what that does is it plays both those areas down so that your trees that you've captured this beautiful color and this nice clear little forest area will stand out. Just you'll be so excited about that. Um, yeah, we don't have enough time to go in, and I could just love to show you that, but that's kind of how I see it to make it, as we say, more better.
Yeah.
Okay, so first snow, Colorado Meadow. I stumbled. First snow, Colorado Meadow. And I'll continue this first one. The first thing that we see, and it's good, bad, and different, but in the world when we're judging how we've been trained, is there's a lot of times nowadays we can quickly see when a technique has been done too much. Clouds aren't this sharp. And when you sharpen things, whatever technique you've used, I'm seeing a slight blue halo around the edges of clouds. That tells me it's been over sharpened. Clouds need to be soft. And then you also feel this in the middle of the tree between the branches. See the highlights in there? It's gotten darker here, but it hasn't gotten the light around the tree. So that are signs that it's been over processed. Then the cyan that's happened in the mountain shade. I know that cyan is there later in the day, afternoon actually, but because of the saturation of that blue, again, it's a key sign that it's been overworked. So you could take this image and literally just back off on those sliders a little bit and have a beautiful scene. Um, but we've got a nice, let me get my little pen here again. Nice flow. I mean, I do like this tree in the foreground. It gives us a place to start. The valley gives us a direction to go. The reward is the mountains, the clouds above. Nice. These trees emulate this tree, so it's a comforting feeling for the maker to say, "Oh, I started here." And as I go through the image, there's more of similar shapes, so it makes you feel like you're looking the right way. Let me just try one other thing here. Again, like Rick mentioned earlier, time of day is an issue. Um, again, it's a pretty picture, but if you're getting to something that you want more drama, you've got to really definitely consider time of day. Again, I'll even try my old favorite black and white and play with the sliders and let's really make those sky. What the last image, we don't do this in a competition, but here this isn't a comparison of good or better. This is only to get you what I was trying to get that last image to look like is this. See how the top of the sky is so much darker? Then down here, the horizon line. This gives you depth. This gives you sky above your head to sky in the distance. That's what I was trying to create. So now the mountains stand out. Got a little bit. I'm going to lighten up the cyan just a little bit here. See if we can. The green was taking these trees here. Let's see what the red and yellow. So this could become a very powerful. I've lightened up the yellows, which is the greens. Look what it did to the trees. Look at the life it brought, which is almost going into an infrared. More times than not, on this particular situation, I'll take the red slider one way and the yellow the other way. So if I go this way, I can kind of get a different look. But in this case, I like the yellow going to the right, so it gives all the greens that really light, almost infrared feeling. Now that's pretty powerful right there. You can play with the red and do whatever feels good. It's basically, if you look at this hill and the shadows in the face of the hill, that's lightening that or darkening that. That's really just personal preference. Again, this is kind of what I see. Rick, how do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the zoom or the display, but if take it back to color, yeah, I thought I saw some ending up in the top left uh, quadrant.
Come on. This is one of those shows where it won't let me go back to Photoshop. There we go. Banding up in the top left, you say?
Yeah, yeah,
A
horizontal.
little bit, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but I think it's
And I
because
think that goes back to the processing.
yes, exactly. Because you can push it only so far before you create the banding. It may not have been
Right.
there, but you start creating it, yeah. But again, it's the kind of thing, the one point that we like to make in our shows is that just because we have some different ideas, drastic ideas, doesn't mean that's what's showing is bad. It's just trying to give you some outlet to go in a different direction,
Um,
try
yeah.
something different. And those kind of things give you some ideas on how to go. If you can see these finished images in your mind when you're out in the field, that's huge. Flowerful waterfall. That's a mouthful. I'll see if I get flowerful waterfall. Ricky, what do you think of this one?
I think it's going to be wonderful when yeah.
Still hasn't come up yet. Doggone it. All right, maybe I'll just jump in every time first until you have a chance to see it. Are you seeing it yet?
Uh, yeah. Yes. Um, okay. You know, just what we've been talking about in terms of the again the time of day, but we do have some really nice qualities of the movement in the water, a little blown out on the main um, largest fall. Uh, this is an image I think that would benefit really quite well from a very soft vignette around the image to kind of focus us into the scene of the little waterfall. I'm even thinking maybe we can crop in from the right
I
just
was
a little.
thinking that too. Yeah, let me do that and see. This rock outcropping just kind of pulls your eye away from, and I think the story is in here. And I would maybe even come down just a tad bit. Something like that.
Yeah,
Again, it's
yeah,
not bad. It's just this other rock outcropping just gives your eye a reason to go up there. And is it a strong enough reason to bring your viewer up there? The waterfall is powerful enough
right.
that I think it needs to be really highlighted well.
Yeah. And as photographers and artists, uh, our relationship, if you will, with the viewer is to take the viewer on a little tour, if you will, of your image. And that we do by leading them in with leading lines or directional light or composition, um, color, uh, whether the color is harmonious or contrasting. So we have, those are the tools that we use to uh, take our viewers on a tour through the image. But I like that crop better.
And another step that, and I'd have to show you, this is going to take some time. I won't do it now, but I would go into a scene like this and do a burning and dodging technique. And I would go in and I would just kind of dodge, which is lighten the tops of each one of these. Like let me get my pen tool here to point out what I'm trying to say here. So this bunch of weeds, flowers. Here's another clump. Here's another clump. So what I do is to go in and in Photoshop create some burning and dodging. I would lighten the top of this clump, the top of this clump, the top of this clump, the top here, the tops here. So it's being that that makes it a little bit lighter, it makes the base of the clump a little bit darker. It creates that roundness from front to back. This is a little harder because it's all more of one big field, but you could lighten up the top of these guys here. You could lighten up these rocks and back in here just a little bit. I see you could lighten up the top of this area, this guy. So you're creating roundness. You're creating that third dimension by doing the highlighting. These little weed tops could be lightened up. Um, so just little things like that that go in. And I would even, by the same token of burning and dodging, I would even go in and there is a cyan purple cast to the water, at least on my screen. But I would take this and whiten this up just a little bit more, just the ever so slight. I don't see that. Rick, you said you're seeing some blown out highlight in here. I'm not seeing that on my screen, so just
Okay.
watch for that. But by going in, because there's a lot of blue in this water, and that's just sky, that's just overcast sky and blue cyan light. But if you go in and, however, there's several different techniques, especially on these moving water areas, and brighten up that water and get that color out of it, you'll have that water will just stand out. It'll say, "Come here, jump in, come and get a cup of water and drink from me."
Hmm.
Beautiful scene though. I want to go there right now. So, but we'll finish this show first. Fly like an eagle is our next image. This is a very cool capture. Look at that. That's kudos to the maker there. What a opportunity. Whatever lens you use, doesn't matter. The fact that you got, I mean, that bird's face, the eye, the beak is always nice and sharp. Um, Traveling like that, gliding. Look at even the view, the vision of the bird is kind of up. So there's just lots of good movement in there. It's hard. The tip of the wing is a little soft for I know it's very hard, but for competition, that might be a tough one to score well in. I would also, the overall seems a little bit too light. I might just simply go in and make the overall scene. If you look at the histogram, you could make the overall scene a little bit darker. The bird stands out more, and then you can bring the white back into it a little bit. Just be careful you don't lose the top of the dome there of the bird to get. And then little things we've talked about, this blue sky showing through. Just go in and select those areas or just something and just eliminate the blue. Not a lot. Take it down to a blue gray. Take it into a green. Just stuff, but it's pulling the eye away from the bird. Or again, as you can tell, we are faves of long, narrow, horizontal cropping. That's cool. This is cool. Um, just keep that in mind.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's a much more crop, in my opinion. And if there's a little more on the file to the right, uh, I would allow a little more space to the right
So
as well.
extend it a little
Yeah,
bit.
yes, yes.
Yeah, and of course nowadays you can do that very easily by just with your and depending on how much your own personal preference, how much you want to go in, there's ways of doing it without doing AI. We used to do that in the past. Just make your canvas larger and duplicate some of this and alter it so it doesn't look like you've duplicated it. But that just gives the bird a little more space to fly into.
Yeah, it's a nice shot.
Oh, it's a great capture. I mean, I don't have anything like that. Uh, Gila woodpeckers. Gila, I'm sorry, I don't know if I pronounced it right. If you pronounce that Gila, is it Gila or Gila? Rick, you know that stuff.
Gila?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Can you see the image yet?
Yes.
Okay, go. I'll let you go ahead and start then.
Mm. Um, I think what we might be looking at is some adjustments that might want to be considered as far as, the exposure, because we have a really contrasty image, but it's in a contrasting lighting situation. So it would be. So this is this is kind of tough to make sure that we can get all those values in. I'm looking at the white petals of flowers, and as I see them, they're pretty hot. And then I look in the ribs of the cactus, and losing a little bit of detail there. Uh, but making some of these adjustments, I think would really help the image compositionally. Um, we've got the bird, I think where it needs to be. Uh, we've got some activity or action that tells a story about what's going on. So there's definitely interest in the image. I think it's a matter of balancing out um, the exposure and contrast range a little bit.
I just added a brightness contrast range and cut down the contrast quite a. Maybe it's a little too much. I think we need to get a little more blacks in there and took the brightness down, but you can see the difference already when I turn it off and back on. It brought some detail into the flowers. It brought detail on the top of the bird's head. It brought detail down here into the cactus. It might be a little flat, but I think that accomplishes what Rick was mentioning. Another little things that, again, you know what they are as a maker, but I'm seeing there's probably, it looks like probably is that a bee or some animal flying there, and there's two black spots here that, I don't know, it's probably something falling from what the bird is digging into. Again, you don't want the maker to guess what because the first thing comes, oh, that's too bad they left some spots in there. And it's not a right or wrong thing. It's the fact that somebody may look at that. If you're in a gallery and somebody sees those spots, say, well, gosh, I wish those spots wouldn't have been there. It's dumb little things like that people use for reasons not to buy. It may have nothing to do with why they aren't buying it, but I can tell you in a competition, you'll get a judge saying, yeah, sure, we can reason out that probably was a bee because here's some fresh flowers, but it's a spot. So I would eliminate those little guys. But other than what Rick said, it pretty much covers it all. That blue sky and the nice color with the warm tone of the mountain behind it, this was a very nice choice. Homesteading. Okay. Great story. I like you got some good, nice leading lines. The fence line coming in, this sidewalk or road, whatever, coming in to the buildings. Nice placement on the building. What a great sky. Big storm. I like that. And we, again, not comparing in terms of better or not good, but when I was talking about sky before, this is great because you can just feel the edges, the movement of the clouds, the rain, the precipitation, whatever it might be in those clouds. If you were to have sharpened it, I think that would have been, it would have looked phony. So you've handled this well. There's just enough details. You can have white spots, white areas in a scene with no detail. That's zone 9, zone 10. You can have black spots, areas with no detail. That's zone 0. So this little area here is stuff. So that's okay to have this doorway here. You don't need detail in there because it's a minor part. So those areas are okay. Um, I do see a lot of junk. Again, I don't know if it's somebody flying, if it's a drone, if it's a bee, it's a bird. I see a spot on your sensor. These are the kind of things, again, for competition, a judge is going to lose scores on this. This kind of going, we were talking about composition before. I think this kind of tells a great story with this guy. I'll just play with the cropping and see because we've been cutting this down, but I don't mind that crop. I might even bring it up a little bit more and bring this house down. So this is more about the sky, the mountains, and then the cabin, even though that's in the foreground. So it's just another thought I have right there for that. Rick, how do you want to add to that?
I think everything that you say is so valid. This would be, I feel, a good candidate for a black and white conversion as well.
I was
And I
just
like
thinking.
the mass of sky.
It works in this one, doesn't it? It really tells the story. So I would go in here and I don't want this is kind of tricky. This is where definitely using the masking tools in either Lightroom or Photoshop Camera Raw, because I would like to get the ground in the foreground darker and not make the cabin darker. So you'd have to separate those because when I take the red slider, you've got reds in both the grass and the building. So when I go darker on the ground, the cabin gets too dark. I'd rather have the cabin in this area. And then same with the yellow. If I try to make that darker, it works, but the cabin gets kind of flat. But this is kind of the feeling. But if, again, if that cabin were just a little bit lighter, it would stand out even more. But then the sky, let's kind of see what we can do. So notice how we've got all of that ultraviolet light that happens in the mountains. Let's deal with the blue on that one. And we can take those deeper. So now we don't want to lose those trees. Those green trees will go to big black holes. That's a little bit too much. Um, the greens aren't going to have much of a play in this scene. The cyan could give us. So this is something to pay attention to real closely. Let me enlarge this a little bit. So we have green trees and green grass, but the green trees have more yellow in them than the grass is going to have more cyan in it. So when I take the cyan slider, it's affecting the whole area, but notice it's affecting the trees mostly. When I take the blue, again, it's affecting the whole area, but look at how I can kind of separate the trees and the grass have more space, color balance between them, so there's more definition between the clumps of trees and the grass. And then let's see if magenta does anything. Magenta can kind of give us a little bit of guts in the sky. If I go too light, we're starting to get some banding or noise up in there, so you got to be careful of that. But if I take the magenta way to the left, see how it softens the sky? Look at how cool that is. Look at how pretty that is right there. We're gonna have a lot of people swearing at us tonight, Rick, when we leave. Sorry, we're full of ideas. This is kind of how I see this guy here. Um, and then again, it probably wouldn't even hurt. Maybe just try a crop. Just come up. You could even come up a little bit into maybe here. Because now we're really telling the story of the weather coming into this old building. We've got enough foreground to support the hill that it's on. I might even go in, I would darken these tin roofs just a little bit. Wasn't that from a song? Tin roof. That goes, never mind. Oh, yeah, I would probably, I mean, I like the texture. I like that there shows another building, but I would maybe darken those guys. I would darken this area a little bit too, but that's really cool. Could that be a drone there? Let me zoom in. Whatever that is right there. Okay. Thank you, Maker, for letting us go way too far. We still have half the show to go, so we better pick up the pace over here. Mutual
Yeah,
support.
we're an hour and a half into it.
Yeah,
I don't want to lose anybody.
yeah, mutual support. So, a great title, good story. This is what I was talking about earlier. It brings us into mutual. So, what are we talking about? Mutual support. Well, it's showing us here's these timbers or these rocks, excuse me, that are helping hold this up. It's keeping it together. It's falling apart, but these guys are keeping it together. Um, so it really brings us a good story. The fact that it looks like it might almost still be lived in. I don't know if it's a piece of furniture, but it gives us that feeling with the drapery that oh, there still could be some life in here. So zeroing in on this wall, this cracked wall, it's falling apart. I don't know if this has gotten separated, that piece and this piece, but it's a wonderful story. It's definitely falling apart. Go back next spring and it could be a pile of rubble. So moving in, capturing this, the sky is great. It's there, it's supportive. The rocks over here on the left, just nice support. I wouldn't crop those out. Um, Rick, what do you think?
Man, I really like this image. And
Yeah.
again, I think a black and white would really be powerful in this image. It just has a real southwesty, um, almost reservation look to it. Um, it's a great image.
So I think you've coined another word there, southwesty. So you could take this red wall really deep, which I love this kind of stuff. Just don't go too far, you lose detail. The yellow isn't going to affect the wall a little bit, but it's going to affect the rest of the scene. But I would take the rest of the scene maybe into here, but then maybe go in with a mask and just take this wall down. And then I was talking about the burning and dodging. I would pull back some highlights in this support beam across the window, the frame of the window, maybe some of these highlights in these rocks, some of the highlights down here. That could be a very, very timeless looking black and white. Let's see if we can, yeah, take the blues down. Look at what the sky, how much more dramatic it gets. So there's all kinds of possibilities to do. Oh, let me add a levels layer on top of this just to see if we can bring the punch back into it a little bit. So I'm going to pull the whites back in and just bring that pop back into it that it had. Go about there and then take it just a little bit deeper. Oh, look at that. That's the only problem now is it doesn't say Jeff Johnson right down here in the bottom corner. All right. Thanks for letting us beat up on your images here. This one is called Normandy. Oh, wow. Do you have it yet, Rick?
No.
All right, I'll go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I
It's
got
a, yeah, what a amazing story. Um, the name, I was talking about names earlier. This is perfect. It doesn't have to say any more. Normandy, we all know what that word represents. This showing us this is just wow, I got goosebumps from that one. The flags posted in, the fact that we've somebody has come along and they've thanked a relative for or somebody for defending this world and they're paying honor to them and missing them and the alignment. I like that you've got this row of crosses kind of this one being the backbone and then the rest of them of course fan out from there in a nice kind of a
yeah,
even repetitive order, which kind of to me says military. Um, the rest are kind of you still have some nice lines through it, and this, but the flags just draw us back in. Little things I might have gotten rid of this piece.
yeah,
Um,
definitely. Yeah.
you probably could have even. Go ahead, Rick. I'll let you jump in. I'm going to play with the
No.
crop.
Excuse me. No, I would definitely take out that part of the cross that's just coming into the scene. Um, man, this because of the way the crosses are laid out, um, man, there's so many angles that a photographer could take just for the sake of interesting perspectives. And this is really a really neat image because of the diagonal from left to right. So it's not straight on, which um, which I feel would be less dramatic and impactful than the um, perspective that was taken with this one. But yeah, you're right. There's such a story that's being told in one word.
Look at this too, Rick. This how much this says when you catch this one dead flower in front of that gravestone.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Right.
That itself is an image. Let's just go and see. I'm looking at cutting out that black so it makes it look like this crosses go on forever. I don't know. Just another thought there. Good capture. Wonderful story. That's what I really like about this is
Yeah.
the wonderful story. This is Owl. Enlarge that a little bit. Great capture. Again, I have to enlarge this so we can see it for the show, so I'm afraid it's going to lose some sharpness in what you're seeing. And I'm wondering if maybe I feel like it's plenty sharp on the branch. No, I guess it's sharp enough. But again, because I had to enlarge a small file is why it's not going to look as sharp. Um, I like the diagonal of this branch is very cool. The water spots, the water droplets hanging from the branches are kind of bright and pulling the attention. It's not bad. I don't know if, maybe again a crop. It's kind of cool, but I would again maybe just this plays up the bird more. I would also go in and maybe get rid of, go to my little pen tool. I'd maybe get rid of these things.
Yeah.
And I think I'd maybe even get rid of this. Because now you've got this nice clean line of the branch the bird's sitting on. I don't know why the crop tool just won't go away tonight.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? I cannot change tools with the keyboard. There. Just a thought, and then I'll go back to the original. But you can see how when we pull in all those little other little elements, how it pulls you away. And now this crop, the bird is prominent, the owl's eyes are prominent. This way, it's still a great picture, but all these little things pull your eye away um, from all that. What do you want to add, Rick?
Yeah. I think the cropping is just exactly what we needed to have. What I appreciate about the image is the color harmony of all of the elements, the owl to the branch to the background. Um, one of those things where almost had to look twice to see the owl, but that's nature. That's the way nature uh, um, created, this owl to have that kind of uh, uh, I'm losing
Like
the word.
camouflage, huh? Yeah.
Camouflage. There you go. Thank you. Yeah.
Well,
Well done.
that's maybe why I'm saying what I was doing to make the owl stand out because the owl blends in like it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Good comments. Okay. Shelter beneath the sky. Very cool. I
Wow.
like that you gave it this infrared black and white, however you want, whichever way you want to look at it. It's kind of both falls in the category. The sky is phenomenal. Nice placement of the teepees. It gives us that way late afternoon feeling that is it adds a lot of drama. It adds a lot of story to the whole scene. The placement of the teepees is done nice, very nice. You could maybe even crop up a little bit, maybe even halfway on the bottom. I think it would still work. But the sky is great, great vignette, natural vignette, like we've talked about the dark part of the blue. And I like that the sepia. It's not quite a sepia, but that kind of color choice is good. Really helps tell a story.
That's what I, that's what I was going to comment on was the color uh, rendition of the image. It just really has a nostalgic or vintage look to
Yeah.
it. It's actually very very timeless. And I think it was a wise choice to present it in black and white.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good choice because it does help tell. Again, there's so many times we get caught in the color. It's pretty colors. It's a pretty time of day. But are you losing the story by the color? Because sometimes color can take away from the story. Something I just saw, I'm gonna enlarge. When you've darkened the sky, you see how the edges of the TP poles have gotten highlighted. That happens. That's natural. When you darken the sky, you're going to get this outline. It's not the end of the world, but again, if you put this into a competition, it's going to get flagged for those. You got to go in and address those. There's a little technique that you can do to get rid of that. It's a little bit of work, but just watch for those kind of things because it says something has been done. And unfortunately, as cool as this image is, if you were to make a 40 by 60 out of it and hang it in a gallery or something, those highlights would show up tremendously. This one is called Side Eye. You can picture your mom giving you the side eye when you talk back to her. So again, I've got to enlarge this quite a bit for us to see it. So I hope it doesn't take the quality away. But look at the mom is just kind of looking over like, Junior, what are you doing? Got my eye on you, buddy. And then even I think which helps, so sort of look at how her legs are crossed. Like she was walking this way, and then Junior was going to sneak up on her, probably try to jump on her back. And Mom kind of stopped and did that little crossover with the kind of like Mom would fold her arms, and make that statement in the kitchen, like "Stay out of the refrigerator." That's how I see it. What do you want to add, Rick?
I think I would crop up just a little from the bottom, but I think the capture is really well handled because we have about because part of that
More or
foreground.
less?
No,
Mo-
about back down just a little bit. Well, that's not bad. I was just concerned because the foreground there was a
Hang
lot of
on.
real estate, and it was out of focus.
Okay, here's the original. So maybe just right up above the focus area there. So like right about, let's go right about
Yeah,
here.
right about there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it lets you let your eye go into the bears a lot faster. What a great story.
Yeah,
Good
it is.
color. Background soft. I like that being out of focus. It's just not necessary for all that water to be sharp. I might look at um I think I'd maybe eliminate these items here just because they don't when an item crosses our foreground subject, it tends to pull them together or make more attention. It's not terrible, but I think I'd maybe eliminate those. But other than that, what a great story. Let me see if I'm gonna zoom in and look more here. Look at the little bear's face. It's kind of like Mama said something, and the bear's kind of like, oh shit, I got caught. Great story. Okay. Sneak attack. Another great story here.
Oh yeah.
As those of us who've sat and watched different birds go after their supper, there's one in every crowd, right? That goes and has to try and
Mhm.
steal it. And
I'll tell
this
you
is tough. I mean, it's
what,
sharp. What's that? Uh-oh. As I said that,
the
he locked up.
capture.
Oh,
Look how the the uh, the eagle in the back is just far enough from the one in front to where the beak of the one in back is not overlapping the
oh,
tail. There's that
yeah.
separation.
That's
Man,
space.
that's darn
Perfect.
good timing.
Yeah. Good work.
And there's such a grace to the image. I was thinking of some kind of title that, I don't know, kind of makes you think of ballet.
Yeah, there's wonderful detail in the darks, the shadows, the dark feathers underneath, just enough to not make it look like black holes. You can see just enough of the fish to know what this guy's, and even his expression is kind of like, give me that. And then this guy even has a, I mean, I know their eyes are all built similar, but he kind of has a beady eye, like, oh crap, I got to get out of here. He gonna steal my
Yeah.
supper. Yeah, very, very nicely done. Position in the crop, Rick, anything you do differently, or does this work?
Well, oh, I think there's nice space in front of them, plenty of room uh, to move. I don't think I'd want to pull back a whole lot because there's a lot of action and intensity that I think is accentuated by this tighter crop. So I'm not
Right.
sure that I would.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even worry about the, especially the back eagle. The tips of their wings are just a little soft. Wouldn't even consider, don't even worry about that one because what matters is these faces, the claws, look at the talons, just both feet are ready to jump in.
Right.
Just enough of the fish through the bodies. It's all nice and really tack sharp. No, what was that
Yeah.
that J. Michael used to say? Tack on sharp.
Yeah. Yeah. Daggone.
Yeah, we had a buddy who was a phenomenal photographer and judge, and he'd always talk about things being tack on. Was it J. Michael that said that? Tack
J.
on sharp.
Michael.
I'm like, tack on.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is Solitude in the Snow. Yes, it is.
Oh,
Good, good title. You see this one, Rick? Has it popped up for you there?
yes. Yes.
I do not know why I can't
Yeah.
change tools. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I like the composition. It's subtle, it's simple, but it tells a story. I think we probably would go in and check on the cyan in the snow, maybe bring that up just a little to a closer to a truer white. I think would help it. Um, and I think that would help benefit the trunk of the tree as well.
Let me just play with this real quick and see if I can. So even just using the medium color picker on the level or yeah, where am I at? Levels palette eliminates some of those colors Rick was talking about and just brings it a little bit more to a truer tone. So now I think the
Oh,
colors you've got
right,
the cyan and then this more green blue in the tree. It's not bad, but I think just doing this brings us into a little bit more. The story stands out more than those colors. Um,
right.
Another trick, and we laugh about this all the time, but going to black and white will help you determine a story and composition, and so it takes that color out of your face. This even works in black and white. Because when you have these
Yeah.
colors and you're this cyan and the green in the tree, it tends to ask for more attention. So just play with that maker and see what you think about it for yourself there. Sometimes they want to take you with them. Ooh, ominous. Wow. Oops, a little too big. Sorry about that.
What'd you say the title was?
Yeah, let me read it to you again. Sometimes they want to take you with them.
Oh, well,
Play some mind games there, huh?
yeah, man.
Yeah, go ahead. That's a lot to take in this one.
Yeah, it sure is. So much could be read into this. Uh, but the duplication of the uh, crucifix in the background uh, with the cross structure. I don't know if they're looking through an opening with stones or what it is, but that crucifix is replicated with the cross in the foreground. And then,
Yeah.
these interesting elements with the uh, with the cobwebs, just really adds to the story. Um, I'm kind of wondering if we couldn't tone down the stone or whatever it is just a touch, because there's a lot of contrast between the foreground and the background. And having said that, my eyes are going to go directly to the brighter area, and I'm not having the opportunity to see to look inside beyond that foreground area. But this is a very thoughtful and
Isn't
thought-provoking
it?
image. Yeah.
Yeah, so even just taking so what I did is I took the highlights down and then just opened up the blacks just ever so slight, maybe even I think that's all right. Um, it's just kind of more what you're feeling, so it allows us more deeper connection with the foreground and the background. So before, after.
Yeah.
Yeah, well said. But I mean, I love the eye that what you've created here. You've shown us a lot of depth in the theme, the story that you're trying to tell, pulling the elements together from here to there. And you can see that the crucifix back there doesn't even have to be sharp. We know what that figure is. We can see you can see the dude's arms and his head right there. Um, and with the same crowds, we know the story. We know this. So you don't have to have everything sharp. Matter of fact, if you were to have shot this and did a double and shot this and put them together so that the crucifix back there would have been sharp like this, I don't think it would have been as powerful. We have this mystery of the cross, and I think
I,
the way you captured it is perfect. It's perfect. And then we go from a serious to a little more lighthearted. This is called The Breakfast Club. There you go.
well,
Yeah, it's kind of it actually, when you again, that's what I love about titles. You think of that movie, The Breakfast Club, and here we have the misfits, if you will, sitting across the classroom, and then of course the principal kept checking in on them. So here's the misfits doing their thing, screwing around, talking and being loud, and then here comes the boss, the principal, or whatever role you want to give him coming in. So the story is phenomenal. The capture is done nicely. Um, even look at this. I'm going to enlarge. Look at this face, almost like, oh, we got busted. Look, come and look, peeking around here. This guy's
well,
just kind of looking off here, like, oh, I hope he doesn't see us. Um, great title, good story. Excuse me, Rick. What do you want to add to that?
um, I don't know that there's a whole lot more that I can add to it. I just think what you've said, and it's a really good capture. I mean, uh, I don't know if cleaning up like the branch in the middle,
This
taking
stuff
that,
here.
yeah, yeah, just to make it more of a high key background, but really a nice concept and a good capture.
Sometimes what I've found when you start, okay, I'm going to get this tree out of there. Oh, then I better get this out of there. Oh, then what about these? And what about these? Then what about this? So pretty soon by the time you're done, you've got no image left. So
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes what I'll do sometimes is if I get this situation where you have a tree that's out of focus, is put a mask on it and then just take the opacity of it down. So it's just a softer version of what it is. So it's not as prominent. Like this
right,
guy in the bottom, um, these two guys over here, and even this gray back here area. It's just mask them and then just reduce the density, the opacity of the light, make them just a little bit lighter. So they're still there. You're not having to take them out, but they're just a little bit lighter. But be careful you don't end up with lines from where your mask is.
yeah,
Um, and then even, of course, we're always looking at, let's see what a crop would do. Maybe even just, because again, it's a lot of real estate that's not necessary to tell the story. Look at that. that pulls you in even more intimately with the birds. And then do the
Yeah.
same thing, just mask these areas and just lighten them a little bit so they can stay there, these three up here. And yet they're not becoming nothing, but they're just becoming more, less prominent. What a great story. Good capture. Very cool.
Yeah.
So we just have a few more here. Thanks for hanging in with us there, guys. This is called The Look. So again, we talk about titles, exactly what I'm talking about. The look, and then boom, look what pops up. I mean, this guy is like, I don't know, he caught us. He caught you looking and he sees you. And I think there's a warning shot being fired across the bow there, like don't get any closer. But what a great capture. It's crisp, it's got good detail, the lighting is nice. You probably got some nice shade on it, even though it seems like it's a little bit middle of the day, which again we know happens. The highlight across the head is handled well. It's bright, but I think there's still enough detail in there. It's cool. The eyes show up, the beak, the color. Yeah, I mean, the only couple of things I might suggest, I might go in and select that background here that you can do in the masking and just I'd maybe make that just a little bit darker. You could add a little bit more brown, green, less color, whatever, just but maybe make that just a little bit darker. That same mention I did in the last, you could select this branch and just, again, don't eliminate it, don't try and get rid of it, just make it a little less dense, make it a little softer. The tree branch is cool. What do you want to add, Rick?
Yes, my concern was the background above the bird. And I just feel if we had that tonal or color value at half of the scene down in the background, I think, man, that would just have such a smooth condition. And, we wouldn't have that, well, it looks like a branch behind the bird, just have an even um, color value on the top part of the background as we do on the bottom. And that thing would just really stand out. But I did also like the kind of the top or backlighting of the bird. That's what creates that dimension.
Yeah, this highlight here sure does. Creates a
Yeah.
roundness. I just cropped as you can see. I don't know if that's,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe just a little bit. Just another possibility. I kind of like that right there. Because what you get is you get it now because of this one little branch there and this little triangle of light. It just pulls your eye over there, and you have to ask yourself, is that necessary to my story? So maybe I would just even bring
Right.
it, just clip that little triangle out of there, and I think you've got there's a crop I like because the bird still has nice space on the left there, but that expression is just priceless. Good job.
Yeah.
I don't know what did you say to the bird to get him to make that expression? I have tried to say things like that to kids over the years, but never to birds. Okay, now we have turning into fall. Again, a very nice story. Great leading line of the water coming in from the bottom right and comes over the waterfall and back in. We've got the mill up there and even the flag peeking out. Nice little touch. Nice colors throughout the scene. They're balanced enough. Nothing is way too bright or too dark to pull us. It lets our eye travel around comfortably, but we still have a focal point of the mill, the water wheel. Um, yeah, just overall very nicely done.
It is. It is. I think this is one of those that you talk about, working the sliders to get a little bit of that cyan out of the out of the water. Um, yeah, and I really do like composition because the water wheel is balanced by that bottom left corner with the rocks and the shrubbery. Um, and again, another one that tells a really nice story. And like you say, with a little bit of the cleanup, top right corner, that little highlighted area, just kind
Up
of clean
here,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, and to the far right corner.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, I see that there. Yeah.
yeah,
So I just pulled up the selective color and I've got them on the cyan channel. Just watch the water. All I'm gonna do is just kind of take some of that cyan it's coming out of the whole scene, but it's mostly coming out of the water. And all of a sudden that water perks up and it becomes that much more prominent. You can also go in here and go to the whites and punch everything up a little bit more. If you've ever used this one, I don't recommend going to neutrals and blacks. You can mess things up real fast that way. But nice work. Very cool. It's a cool thing. So this one, Maker, if you're listening, when I pull this one, there was not a title attached to this, it was a file name, so I just threw untitled in it. But if Maker, if you're watching, you want to put a title in, just type it into the chat box and we'll know. So good, really good eye. I love these formations like this. It really tells this massive story. I mean, it's really hard to tell how big this really is, and yet the clouds balance it, the ground um, story coming in there, and little bits of hills in the distance on both sides, buttes is very cool. I might suggest, again, we've got a lot of foreground that isn't necessary. Could be, I think, a little more powerful maybe to go up into here-ish.
Yeah, there you go.
And then the other thing, as we mentioned before, time of day. And again, it's tough. But when we shoot this time of day, sometimes we can only get there at 2 o'clock and we can't wait around for sunset or we can't get there in the morning. That's okay. Don't you obviously shoot it, but then think of alternatives like black and white. Middle of the day shooting black and white is phenomenal because you get this heavy stories and those really unique tones. But even just in this image, just going with the levels layer, I mean, we can pull down the whites a little bit to give some pop to the sky. But we can make that whole thing just a little bit deeper like that and look at how much more punch it adds with color saturation, a little more color in the rocks, a little more color in the clouds. What do you want to add there to this, Rick?
Uh,
Then of course I'll have to
I
do
just
this
think,
one.
what's that?
I said I had to do this black and white. I couldn't
Oh, yeah.
resist.
Actually, I prefer the black and white.
So you see how I can build up tremendous contrast by just playing with the red and the yellow sliders, and there's not a right or
Yeah.
wrong. I mean, you can say I can go too far, and then with the blue, we can take that sky down and make it that this is the Ansel Adams sky. So I will take the blue and make so that sky goes dark. But if you notice, and I'm going to enlarge this, which we don't do in a show or competition, but notice what it does to the background. And then watch the highlighting it does. I pushed it pretty far to show you, but you can do this without pushing, but see the highlight that's happened as I darken the background compared to the foreground subject. There's a white outline. So
Yeah.
keep an eye out for those things, especially if you have a plan of making a large print. You will be mad at yourself when it comes, the 30-inch print comes back from the lab. Those labs don't look for that. Um, and then watch for the sky. Sometimes you can only go so far with the sky before you start getting the different words. So I didn't give you a chance to say any more. I just went.
No, no, that's fine. I think the conversion helps the image, but you're absolutely right. How far we take it is something that needs to be considered because I can see just over uh, uh, the monument is, the starting the white line thing, but and these
Something,
types of
yeah.
images are great in um, in multiples, I guess I could say, as a collection, whether
Oh
it's
yeah.
all one presentation or two or three presentations, but as a collection. So commercially,
Right.
instead of selling one image, selling two or three.
Just think of this and maybe two or three other formations that are obviously maybe not even the same rock in different angles, but similar types of rock in a small 16 by 20, 20, so in a collection on the wall, how powerful that would be. And Maker, don't let me scare you because this was kind of a
Yeah.
small file that I've done these changes. If you go back to your original raw, you can push it this far and not get those um, halations, checkerboards, whatever different words in the, you start getting the outlines of the clouds and the outlining. So if you go back to your raw file or your initial, you can push it to this extent and not get these problems. So keep that in mind, that don't let me scare you by pushing it this far. I'm just trying to show you the concept that we're talking about here, but that was
Right.
really cool. Great action shot here is called Wave Runner. Again, it's a small scene that's been submitted, so I have to enlarge it, so we will lose some sharpness, but I want to get it so we can see it better. And again, I'll just point out the water is pixelized because I've enlarged it this far. But that also says make sure that if you're going to do any kind of enlargement that you start with a large enough file. But what a
Yeah.
great capture, great photojournalism, action shot, catching these guys. I don't know what the heck they're riding. I've never seen anything like that before, but to catch them up there in midair like that is very cool. Is that two? There are two? Is it just not? Is this all just one boat that's bent? Must be a big inflatable thing. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What do you want to add,
Let's see
Rick?
how many. One, two, three, four. What, five writers that I'm counting?
Yeah.
Uh, I've never seen anything like that. I have no idea what in the world that what it is. But what I'm seeing is really, really exciting, and um, I'm kind of wondering if we wouldn't want to have just a little more space on the top so that the point of the nose, the point of the craft, isn't quite as tight. I guess it could be argued, well, that adds to the drama and
I
tension.
I was just gonna say I like the cutoff like that because it does
Yeah,
add that bit of like, oh my God, are we gonna crash? Are we gonna crash
yeah,
into the top of the picture? Are
yeah.
we gonna crash? Yeah. But what a great capture, the waves, the splashing. Um,
Yes.
this person's kind of very buried down the middle of it, like holding the one arm up here, like, oh dear God, what's happening to my life? I have a feeling. I'm gonna go back down. So if I take it back, this is what was submitted, so you can see that we don't see the pixelizing stuff like that, but just keep in mind that it looks sharper like it's supposed to be when I viewed it right because I enlarged it. That's why we got a lot of those halations and things. So sorry, Maker, to scare you like that. But great, I mean, great story. I'm sorry if I didn't point that out, just capturing the people. If this would have just been out there on the water or flat and if some waves in the background, not nice. But capturing this whole, you can feel their emotion. You can hear them screaming, especially the gal on top. She's probably going, screaming some bad words that people say. Nothing I've ever heard, but Hey, we've got three more, so thanks for hanging this in with this guy. We're doing great. This is Where the Sky Breaks. Wow. This is very cool. This takes a little bit of thinking to position yourself, to know where the
Yeah,
Milky Way is coming in, to have that light in the background is very cool to have it. They have those rocks back there. Just because so many times we'll see a silhouette in the Milky Way, which is fine, but this just gives this whole story some great um, place, sense of being, um, definitely some contour. I might
yeah.
suggest cropping off these rocks on the end here,
I would too. And
just because
I, I'd
they're
even
not
crop
helping
up
us
from the
forward.
bottom just a tad.
Okay, like that.
There you go. Yeah, I really like that warm light in the distance.
I know, isn't that cool? It's very cool. And
Yeah.
then some shooting stars, or probably by now those are all satellites. The way they're filling up our heavens, but
Yeah.
and then to capture the Milky Way is just nice, nicely done.
Yeah. And then on that horizon, Jeffy, where the warm light is, there's just a little gotcha right on the edge of the image. There
That
you
a little bit.
go.
Yeah, just take that out, maybe or crop it. You just anytime you have something that's at the edge of your photograph, what's the term there? It asks for attention, but what do we call that? Some point.
Yeah, tangent point.
Tangent points. So I always, when I'm almost done with my image or the beginning when I'm cropping it, just run your eye around the edge of your photograph, to the edge of the crop you might want to do, and see if there's anything coming in, a little bit of a tree branch, that little bit of lit rock, because anything like that, and it's hard because I mean there's still mountain coming in over on the right side here, but or no, that might be, sorry, that's clouds. Um, yeah, you don't, I mean that's okay, that works, but it's just it was that bright little point over here. It's just because it's lighter, the contrast, it makes the viewer's eye go over there. And really, the thought there is it's unnecessary to do that. It takes the attention away from what you want them to look at.
Yeah.
I was just going to try one thing because I always have to do that. So I might go in. I like the density, the brightness, darkness of the ground, but I might go in to the masking tool and add a gradient mask to the sky. So it goes a little bit darker at the top and then lighter at the foreground. See, because right now the light's kind of even. I mean, it's a little brighter where it's a little more bluish purple, but all of this gray is the same reflective value, so it doesn't seem as deep as round as the Earth is, unless you're a flatlander. Um, but I would, if you
Well,
add a linear gradient to the sky, just select the sky, make it just a little bit darker from the top down to the sky so that you've created that gradation from dark to light. The stars will hold up. You'll get that feeling then of being more of distance from here to there kind of a thing, if that makes sense. Two more. People are hanging on. It's great. I mean, it's only 9 o'clock. The evening's just beginning, right? You guys are gonna all go out and party after this, so things are different, aren't they? We just don't go out afterwards. Winter sprinkles, another good story. Makes you sprinkles, winter sprinkles. Makes your brain start thinking and makes you start conjuring up what it could possibly. Rick, go ahead if you can
uh,
see it.
not yet. Here we go. There we go. Yeah. Um, here's something that we may have touched on, but not a whole lot, I don't think, is center of interest. Got a beautiful winter scene. You know, the values, exposure wise, I think, have held really well between the highlights and the shadows. I'm getting a feeling that we have like two images. Because if we look in from the left to the open area that's kind of forming a V from the
Right.
trees, one image, and then from that area to the right, we have a second image. And what is bringing them together or creating that interest, center of interest, the focal point that we need to look at? Now, a lot of
Would you crop it
times,
different?
um, I think I would. I think I'd come in from the right almost to that tree, just so that one side is weighted more than the other, if that
I don't
makes
know if
any
you can see what I
sense.
did, but I just really did. I brought this right side in.
Yeah,
Here's before and here's after. If it is switching fast enough for you.
yeah. But I think for me, that's that's the main thing of interest.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I'm gonna go back to the full crop because I mean, as pretty as this is, there's nothing really that has to. We're not going to lose anything from this story by taking this in. So if you were to just go like maybe in here, we've got a nice balance of these three trees. Again, I would go into that masking element and choose the sky and just add a little bit of, again, maybe a gradient from top down, ever so slight. Doesn't have to be much, but just enough. A gradient can kind of act like a cropping, a framing tool and bring in. It's already dark in this tree back in here, which we can easily go and do something like, let's go with, where am I at? So this is the shadows and highlights tool, which is very dangerous. Just getting a little bit more feeling in this tree in the upper left up here, if you can see my cursor. Forget about what's doing the rest of the scene.
Yeah.
I think is going to help because it seems like it's just blocking it up just a little bit too much. I mean, I don't mind that it's going a little darker because this tree stands out. Just a little bit of this. We don't lose that into black nothing. Again, I
Yeah.
think if you were to take a in the masking department and do a grade, select the sky, do a gradient. So just the top is just a little bit darker because it's this area of the trees is a little darker. So if the sky was to kind of match it, then this would stand out a little more prominently, and then it'd bring this area being more highlighted. But I love the snow flying. I love the whole feeling of I can feel the breeze and the cold whipping through there with the trees dropping the snow on my head and then swearing a little bit. But this is very what a great what a great Merry Christmas from my house to your house text in there for a graphic piece, a good Christmas card or something.
Yeah.
Good eyes, good caption. Good goods. I think I have one more here. Winter's Edge. At first glance, man, the detail and all these trees and it's a beautiful black and white piece that has such the drama of the sky, the snow coming in, the mountains disappearing into the clearing storm coming in, the detail on these evergreens. It's just enough to really give it some depth. You can almost feel the snow coming down on those guys. And then this guy's on the right. It's funny, this one fallen tree, I should probably use my tool here so it makes more sense here. This little fallen branch pulls all this together. If this guy wasn't there, if this was all just a big clear area, it might look like we're talking about a couple other images, almost like two photographs. But because this is, and again, my compliments to the maker in this and capturing it with letting this broken branch or tree pull us in, pulls this two areas together. These guys are up on the hill, they got snow, they're telling these guys, hey, you're going to get your share in a minute as soon as this comes in. Um, I like you've left the top of this right at the edge. The heaviness of these trees on the right takes us into this wide open space, the distance feeling, good detail in the shadow of the snow. Really, really nicely done. What do you think, Rick?
Yeah, I do.
I like it.
And you would expect to see the muted um, shadows and even highlights given uh, everything that's going on in the environment, the atmosphere, because a lot of that is, I get the feeling it's blowing snow. So it's going to create
Yeah,
like, yeah, back in the middle, in the background, where you see that the trees are that muted contrast. But
yeah, back in
yeah,
here, yeah.
yeah, man. And,
I mean,
that,
this is so I'm gonna enlarge. Look at the texture in the snow.
yeah,
Is that, whoops. Is that, I mean, that's tough to capture. Look at that texture in the path. Looks like maybe there's some footprints or something. But I mean, that is what makes, that's we talk about the not just contrast, but in the tonal range, because this slope alone has some feeling of that shadow is so gradual from the darkest part to the lightest part. I mean, we're not even talking one stop here.
Yeah.
But that soft shadow, that just gives us such a three-dimensional feel right there. I mean, this half alone, we do this and people go, don't crop my image. But I mean, this part alone is a pretty cool photograph.
Yeah.
Like that. Um, and this in itself is also a pretty cool photograph. But creating the piece together like this, wow. My hat's off to the chef on this one. This has just got some beautiful depth
Yeah.
in a very hard scene to do that in.
Right.
Again, the only other thing I would do differently in this one, oh, I won't be able to do it fast enough, is right down here I'd put Jeff Johnson. All right. You guys, that's the last image. What a wonderful collection. Thank you, everybody. Is there questions? You've been pretty quiet in the chat room. Is there anything you want to add? Can I bring any images back? And we're doing long, but tell me, is there anything else, any questions that we want to deal with?
I'm very
Or maybe
impressed
everybody,
with this collection of work.
Well, I think you guys did a great job. That was a lot of fun to watch.
Thank you.
good, Al, thank you.
And we definitely learned, at least I learned a whole bunch. So thanks very much.
Absolutely. I've got a lot
Well, you're
of
both,
work to do to learn all this. This is amazing.
Yeah.
well, and when you,
I feel the same way now that I saw this work and your perspectives. It opens some doors for me, and I appreciate that.
yeah, it really does. It gives me some ideas of what I can do in some of my work. Um, or I can go to bed tonight and go, God, look at these guys. They're almost as good as I am. I'm just kidding. Well, after 50 years of doing this, you better be able to create some nice images, right? No,
Right.
no. So, well, this has been an absolute pleasure for us. Obviously, that's why we do it. Thank you for staying in with us the whole time. Feel free to go to the Image Critique Show website. Our next show coming up in a couple of weeks, 2 weeks from tomorrow. Please join us. Free to watch if you want to submit an image. I forget now, we're at $20 an image. We're kind of cutting it back to like one image per person. Just so we can not, we don't want to get so many. We also have a cutoff so we don't go on all night long. Go to the website, go to the years on the drop down menu at the top, the different years that we've been in. You'll see replays if you want to sit and watch some of the shows. We also have a YouTube channel with the shows on there where you can watch portions and such. We definitely want to hear your feedback. Join us. We've got a whole bunch of new stuff coming up that you're going to be wanting to know about. Tom, anything else we can say for you?
I think you've done a great job, and we couldn't thank you enough.
Absolutely.
Very
It's
well.
been a,
Great, thank you.
it's been a real pleasure, and I thank you so much for the invitation. Looking forward to seeing more of your work in the future. Great job, everyone.
Yeah, good job, everybody. Beautiful stuff.